Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Good morning, and welcome back to another Good Morning Grief Devotion. It's your boy, Pastor Corey Allen Lincoln Sr. So happy and excited to have this wonderful opportunity to come to you today to lead you in a very special way in today's Good Morning Grief Devotion. Hey, this is the daily grief devotion that is strategically designed to help you to navigate through your grief one day at a time. What is grief? I'm so glad you asked. Grief, my brothers and sisters, it is the natural, normal, and necessary response to loss, change, and transition that results in the expressions of feelings and emotions. That grief is what you feel on the inside. Mourning is how you reveal it on the outside. Therefore, we don't suppress it, but we express it. We don't ignore it, but we explore it. We don't conceal it, but we reveal it. We don't lock it up, but we let it out. That's why we shout good morning, because morning, it is a good thing. I want to thank y'all for joining us on today as we lead you in a very special way. Today's Good Morning Grief Devotion. Yo, before I get started, I want to share something with you. Today, y'all gonna get two quick lessons real quick. I shared a video yesterday. John Amos, James Evans from Good Times, passed away yesterday, or from what I understand, he passed away August 21st, but they're just now coming out to tell us that he died, which I don't understand. If I research it, maybe I'll find out why. But I don't understand, but everybody began to talk about him yesterday, and I shared that famous clip with Florida Evans when she on the show when he died, when they killed his character off on Good Times, and he went to Mississippi and got into an accident, and they came back and said he was in an accident, this, that, and the other. I shared that clip when Florida threw that punch bowl down and said those three magic words, right, that became famous, especially in black culture. And I just wanted to share because it was a clip of grief, and I just shared a motivational message, and I want to share it with y'all real quick. I ain't gonna play the clip before I get into the lesson on today. But Florida, she didn't cry at the funeral. She wasn't crying at the house. She was showing no emotion, and the kids kept saying, "Mom, are you cool? Are you okay? Like, what's going on, Mom? What's going on?" And she started snapping at them and fussing at them and yelling at them and sent them to their rooms. This is after the funeral was over and everybody left. And then after that, she's busy. Florida was busy. She's doing this, she's doing that, cooking and moving this, over there, moving that. She finally grabbed that punch bowl and she slammed it down and she yelled those three famous words, right? And I wanted to use that as the teacher moment because I said yesterday, that what she was doing is what a lot of us do, which is grief avoidance. Some people call it grief distraction, but it's grief avoidance, right? It occurs when you immerse yourself in tasks and activities to avoid confronting your emotions, right? You try to stay busy, and busy can provide you temporary relief, but it's going to delay your emotional processing that you need in order to heal. Is grief avoidance, and so many of us, we practice that, we do that, whether knowingly or unknowingly. We do grief avoidance because we don't want to confront our emotions, right? Somebody said yeah, I don't want to because it's too painful. And I simply said, yep, I feel you. But you got the pain of change and the pain of remaining the same. One is instrumental, one is detrimental. One leads to your healing, the other one leads to you continuously hurting, right? And so be mindful of that. When you are practicing grief avoidance for a prolonged period of time, and the lesson today kind of talks to this because there are some times where you got to push pause, right? But when you do this for a prolonged period of time, everything is building up on the inside, right? That's why every single day I say you can't suppress it, you got to express it, you can't ignore it, you got to explore it, you can't conceal it, you got to reveal it, you can't lock it up, you got to let it out, because everything builds up on the inside, and it gets to the point to where either you're going to implode or you're going to explode, right? Either you're going to implode and have a nervous breakdown and you're going to crumble like a cookie, right? You're going to lose your mind, or you're going to explode and you're going to start to bleed on people that didn't cut you. And you're going to start to, just like Florida did, right? She was stamping at kids. They mourning too. They grieving too. Yelling at them, yelling at everybody. But it's because you're avoiding confronting your emotions, right? Y'all, hear me when I say this. Give yourself permission to feel. Give yourself permission to feel. Give yourself permission to feel. And give yourself permission not just to feel, but give yourself permission to reveal what you feel. That's the only way you can heal, right? Give yourself permission to feel. Give yourself permission to reveal what you feel, because that's the only way you can heal. All right, just something real quick. John Amos, James Evans died. I want to go through that real quick today. This is along the same lines. We're gonna talk about I can evade my grief when I need to. You might be saying, wait a minute, but you just told us don't avoid grief. I want to put it in the proper context, right? So today is talking about I can evade my grief when I want to. Listen, I befriend my grief by encountering and expressing it in small doses. I befriend my grief by expressing it and encountering it in small doses. You ever took medicine and the medicine will tell you just take one or take two, right? You're taking it in doses. What would happen if you took the whole bottle, right? If you took the whole bottle, then depending on what it is, death could be inevitable, right? Muscle relaxers, you tense, you take the whole bottle, your heart is a muscle. You're going to relax your muscle right on to sleep. You're not going to wake up, right? Painkillers, all of these things. If you take the whole thing, it's going to be too much. You can't do it. So that's why the doctor always tells you to take it in doses, right? Take one every 6 hours, one every 8 hours. Take 200 milligram, right? Take one a day, right? You got to take it in doses, because if you don't, it's going to be too overwhelming and it could be more detrimental than beneficial, right? Than instrumental to your life. This is the same thing as it relates to grief. When we talk about befriending your grief and confronting your emotions, and ain't no grief avoidance, give yourself permission to feel, all of that stuff, this is what you got to understand. You do it, but you do it in doses. Nobody spends 24/7 confronting their feelings, right? Nobody spends 24/7 crying and going through that process. No, right? You do it in doses, right? You do it in doses. You do it in doses. You do it in doses. You have your moment. You seek your counselor. You meet with your people. You do your thing. You process. You get out of there, right? Go on about your business. Come back, right? You show up. You process. You express yourself. You do all of this stuff. You do it in doses. You develop a rhythm. That's how you heal. You develop a rhythm of navigating through the process. It's just like anything else. Nobody runs on a treadmill 24/7 a day. What do? You do it in doses. Nobody works out 24/7. You do it in doses. I'm gonna do a 45-minute walk every single day. I'm a strength train 3 times a week. You do it in doses. You just don't sit there and lift weights for 24 hours. No, because you need rest. You need to eat. You need to do other stuff. But I'm going to come back tomorrow and I'm going to do it again. Right? But then I'm going to come back the next day and I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it in doses. That's the same way this grief works, right? You do it by doing it in doses. And just like lifting weights and running and all of that stuff, those small steps will lead you and take you to great distances. Same thing applies to this grief journey. When you take small steps, they will lead you and take you where? To great distances when you do it in doses. Here it is. I befriend my grief by encountering and expressing it in small doses. But sometimes a wave of grief may come over me at a time when I'm not able to welcome it, right? I might be working or interacting with another person or busy with an essential task. When this happens, I can choose to evade or postpone my grief for a short while. Now, you got two different thoughts here. Some people say, anytime, any place, when that grief wave hit, take your moment, have your moment, cry, whether you're in a grocery store, let it out. If you at work, wherever you at, when that moment hit, let it out, right? And you definitely can do that. Some people say that there are some times when that grief wave will hit to where you're going to have your moment, but sometimes you just push pause. Sometimes you're like, okay, I got to postpone it. And whether you feel like you in the store, you want to wait till you get into the car, right? whether you feel like it is a moment where you're somewhere and you don't want to interrupt the moment, or you don't want to, you know what I'm saying? If you're at a wedding and say the wedding is a trauma to you, do you just have your moment and start boo-hooing while the bride is walking down the aisle, or while they're giving their do you just go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs in that moment? Or do you get up and try to go? Do you get up and try to postpone it? Let me go to the bathroom. Let me do something. Let me hold this momentarily until I get into a better position to where I can let it out, right? There are some times where you evade it. Sometimes you postpone it. Sometimes you push pause, depending on the nature of the situation, right? There have been times when I'm preaching and I have my mom, I'm going to cry. There are some times because I'm trying to get through this sermon and I'm trying to communicate the message that I push pause, right, on what I'm feeling so I can get you what you need. But I'm going to come back and pick it up again, or I'm going to revisit it, right? So only you can determine when to what, right? Only you can determine when to what. The thing is, and this is gonna tell you, it's gonna tell you right here. It's gonna tell you right here. I can promise my grief that I'll meet it at a later time. That same day or very soon. If I cry or lose emotional control for a minute, that's okay. That's totally normal and understandable. But it's also okay to use techniques to recenter or distract myself so I can continue functioning for the time being. This is the thing. If you pause and postpone it, oh, I'm going to come back and pick it up. It's not one of them things where I'm ignoring it. It's not one of them things where I'm suppressing it permanently or I'm ignoring it permanently. You may be in a situation where I'm going to pause and postpone it, but rest assured, I'm going to come back and pick it up. It might be in 5 minutes. It might be in an hour. It might be later on today. It might be tomorrow. For now, I might have to pause and postpone it, but I'm going to come back and pick it up, right? That's different from suppressing. That's different from being stuck at a place to where you don't want to feel nothing ever, never, right? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking to people who are actively mourning, people who are going through the process. You going through the process, you actively mourning. And there might be a time, right? Ah, I'm in the middle of something. I'm doing something. It's not a good time. I'm going to pause and postpone it, but rest assured I'm going to come back and pick it up, right? This is what you got to know and understand. Here's the final thought. Now, I'll take any questions if you have them. By attending to my five senses and my breathing, we talked about breathing, I can center myself in only what is necessary of me in this moment. By attending to my five senses and my breathing, I can center myself in only what is necessary of me in this moment. Today, my brothers and sisters, is day 276. I'm so glad you in the mix. I can evade my grief when I need to. If you got questions or comments, please drop them at this time in the chat. I appreciate it. Drop them in the chat if you got them at this time. I hope the lesson made sense. It is important for you to know and understand that there are times where you can pause and postpone it, but I'm going to come back and pick it up. I might be having something going on right now. I'm going to pause and postpone it, but I'm going to come back and pick it up. Just make sure you come back and pick it up, right? Because we don't suppress, we express. We don't ignore, we explore. We don't conceal, but we reveal. We don't want to implode or explode. We want to make sure that we are mourning in a meaningful manner. Well, I appreciate y'all. I hope y'all got it. Ain't no questions coming through. I hope y'all had a terrific Tuesday and y'all going to have a wonderful Wednesday. Y'all continue to hang on. Help is on the way. I love y'all with the love of the Lord. I'll see y'all tomorrow, same time, same place. Let's go.